just as promised, we are back with the predictions for the week. Welcome back, Steven.
Good to be back. Ready to get Week 7 kicked off here.
Yeah, me too. And just to do a little clarifying beforehand, the machine made an appearance at the end of the recap video. Apologies for letting the beard loose on everyone. I guess there was some kind of technical difficulty when Steven was uploading, and that image just popped up.
I was scared, and you sounded angry.
I was angry, but it was worth pointing out that I do take this seriously. I come out here every week, and I bust my butt. It's not funny. It's not funny.
Oh.
And with that being said, what else is not funny is that this week there are 6 NFL teams on bye weeks.
Yeah, that's left a lot of teams scrambling to fill holes this week, that's for sure.
Yeah, you can say that again. There were 13 pickups on the waiver wire this week. A bit of a season high for us, a lot of movement. Good to see it. Good to see the activity going. Let's get into a few of those transactions. Number one overall for the week, I would say, was probably Felix Jones, with DeMarco Murray going out with a foot injury. What do you see from Felix here this week, Steven?
I mean, he's got a good chance to have a good game. Of course, it's never a guarantee. Nothing's never a guarantee in Dallas. So, it's not a bad pickup by any means. But I mean, nothing you pick up off the wire is going to be too much of a game changer, I don't think.
Yeah, just to rub Anderson's nose in it, he is a big Cowboys fan, so no surprise to see him go after a big Cowboys running back to replace another Cowboys running back. But again, like you alluded to, the Carolina run D, a good chance to put up some points there. Moving on to the next addition worth talking about, Mark Sanchez. Is there value here at all?
When Jared picked him up, I don't think he had much of a choice. He's holding on to, I believe he's holding on to Jake Locker. And he's still out. So, and he had a bye week with Mike Vick, so he needed somebody to fill in. I don't know if this was the best week to do it, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I think Hasselbeck was still available at that time during the waiver process. I think I would have rather taken him over Sanchez, but I guess it could be a matchup play with the division game against the Pats. So it'll be interesting to see, one, if Jared starts him, and two, how that plays out for him.
Maybe he just has his name for jet quarterbacks.
That's very possible. He did give up Tebow to get Sanchez. Of course, Tebow lining up at running back this week, potentially.
Yeah, that's true.
Next one worth pointing out, Montario Hardesty. Of course, this is by shotgun because he owns Trent Richardson, and I guess this would be the handcuff for Richardson. Do you think there's any fantasy impact here?
Who'd you say picked up Hardesty?
That was shotgun.
I think it was Jared.
Oh, let's do a quick check. Factually correct, that was Jared. My apologies.
Yep. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Shotgun's still planning on playing
Richardson. I think he's starting Richardson as of right now, and I don't think Richardson is going to miss this game. I think that was more of a preliminary kind of, let's not give him too many reps at practice kind of thing. Yeah. I look for him to still have to be a full participant in this game.
Yeah, but with him being a little banged up, there might be some value in Hardesty still.
Yeah, true stories, especially with the lack of depth there is this year at running back. Finally, kudos to you for getting rid of Finley, going with Jermaine Gresham.
Yeah, that was pretty much a no-brainer. I mean, I had to pick up somebody at the tight end position. It was going to at least give me 2 points. I just need something out of that spot. I think, Gresham's not a lock for, 5 points even, but I think I can get something out of him, more than I've been getting for sure.
Yeah, good point there. I think that's a good place for you to try and trade. I don't know if people are listening. There you go. There's your trade offer. Give the man a tight end.
I got some receivers worth giving away too.
I heard you wanted to give away right away. Is that true?
That is not true. You must be getting your information from the New York tabloids that are trying to rat on A-Rod right now.
The New York tabloids. They're very common in Southern California. That's factually correct. Let's see. And so, last we alluded to this earlier, but Matt Hasselbeck, I think this is a good pickup by Shotgun. It is actually Shotgun this time. he dropped the broken Kevin Cobb, and Hasselbeck playing Buffalo this week could be some good fantasy impact here.
I like it. I like it a lot. Like you said earlier, I like it better than Sanchez. He had a pretty decent week last week against the Steelers, and Steelers aren't no premier defense by any means this year, but Buffalo is definitely not on that list either.
Certainly not. And yeah, that was a surprise win by the Titans, so kind of cool to see that, especially if you're Steven, right?
No, not cool at all. I'm still heartbroken. That was a week ago.
All right, well, that pretty much does it for transactions. I think that's most of the notable ones. So let's get into the matchups.
Let's go.
All right, so we'll kick it off with not exactly a premier matchup, but could be some point scoring, and definitely the Oakland A's of our fantasy league, Jason and Josh. I think Josh really likes having the claim to fame there in Oakland.
I'll let you think that.
I think he took it quite well. I'm pretty sure that was positive feedback, and he liked my comparison. I mean, they made the playoffs. What's not to love?
Yeah, well, kudos to him just for listening.
Hey, there we go. Big props there. So, ESPN projections says it's incredibly lopsided towards Jason's favor. I'm not sure that I disagree with them.
I don't necessarily disagree with him being favored, but by the amount favored, I don't quite agree with 162 points.
Yeah, I think that is a heavy projection for him. But the spread isn't all that unrealistic when I look at Josh's roster and see the likes of James Casey, Stephen Hill, Randall Cobb, Lance Moore, and Scott Chandler.
Yeah, I mean, the 116 points he's projected at, I think, seems quite high, too.
Yeah, a little bit overboard there.
We kind of bashed on him last week, and he pulled out, by far, the upset of the year. But he's not going to get 33 out of Jordy every week, so...
Yeah, he's certainly not, and especially playing a underrated Seattle defense this week.
St. Louis defense.
Yeah, correct, St. Louis, that one. The other STL team.
I'm here for you.
Hey, that's exactly right. I'm glad to hear it. Don't ever forget it. So then looking at Jason's side of the ball, I'm seeing some great, phenomenal numbers maybe to come from Stevie Johnson, maybe Brandon Marshall, and Matt Forte. Even Andrew Luck could all have great weeks.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely got favorable matchups. I still like Bradshaw to continue on his run, although this is a divisional game. And like we talked about before the show, teams definitely tend to bear down a little bit in these divisional games. Yeah,
we'll see if the Redskins can continue their streak of being incredibly bad, but playing really well against divisional opponents.
That's right.
All right, so let's move on to the next matchup. Fish and the familiar face, Stephen Bolt.
Yeah. I like my chances. Pretty good this week. I'm not necessarily nothing wrong with his matchups much either, but I like how mine's turning out. I think we both can put up good points this week, make it a good matchup. I still like Rodgers. I'm hoping that Green Bay offense is on the mend there, turning things around. It'll definitely get better when they get Jennings back 100%. And
tough week for you at quarterback, starting Andy Dalton against your own home team, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, really, all I can hope for is the Pittsburgh to keep up. I mean, they had a lot of trouble in Dalton and Green's freshman year last year. They had a lot of trouble out of them too, and it might continue. So, I mean,
that duo has only gotten better.
Oh yeah, and definitely.
I would definitely expect them to put up points. So it might be a bad week for the Steelers.
Yeah, they're quite lethal now.
On the other side of the ball, I'm looking at Fish's wide receivers, and I just see points out the wazoo, you might say.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about Green. That's really going to hurt me, honestly, him having Green, because as we know, the receivers can rack up points a little bit quicker than quarterbacks, but that's only if Dalton only throws to Green. But he's pretty much going to null out a lot of my points I get from Dalton, I believe. And
Yeah, your savior here could be the matchups as Calvin Johnson is at the Bears and Percy Harvin is against Arizona. Both two pretty good defenses.
Yeah, well, I got a pretty tough matchup with Welker at New York too. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Jets without Revis, I don't know if that's really scary anymore. They had a good week last week. It'll be interesting to see how they follow that up. It looks like your receivers are going to have pretty favorable matchups with Wallace at Cincinnati and Denarius Moore at against Jacksonville, rather.
Yep.
Aside from that, I think Fish had this week starting Russell Wilson. I don't expect anything out of him, but you're going to have to hope that between his running backs and his flex, between Marshawn Lynch, Frank Gore, and whoever he plays at his RB2, they're going to have to put up some solid points.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with my running back matchups. I think Morris, that's really the horse of that Washington offense. Whoa,
that was my horse.
That was horrible. That was like the sickest horse I've ever heard in my life.
Let's hear your horse then.
No.
Yeah, that's right. Your horse sucks.
My horse is dead.
Get that horse.
Yeah.
You, in fact, beat that dead horse very often.
Absolutely.
So let's get to the next matchup. We got me and Shoddy getting real.
Yeah,
that's what this one's all about.
As of right now, you got Stafford on the bench. I think that's a smart but bold move. Doug Martin, I like him against New Orleans. And
going back to Stafford, it's just like I used to tell my shooters, make bold adjustments.
Yeah. You made one, and personally, I like it. I really do. I have nothing to bash you on that. But the thing I want to point out to this matchup is at wide receiver. Shotgun is starting Bolden and Avery to your Smith and Wayne. These are, I guess you could pretty much consider Smith the top receiver in Baltimore, couldn't you?
I would call him the one. He's definitely the big play guy. Although Anquan Bolden, with the last couple of weeks showings, he still might actually be the possession receiver in Baltimore.
Yeah, but the difference between Wayne and Avery, I think, is almost night and day. I mean,
I'm looking for a huge day from Wayne, but I still think Avery could put up decent numbers. This could be a shootout of a game, really, and that's why I like that upside of Whedon in this game.
Yeah, but you pretty much take the cake, I think, with Des Bryant and Kendall Wright. So I think you got him pretty good at receiver. The big question mark for him, I think, is if Trent Richardson plays and if he plays well, or if Sean Green plays like he plays last week.
I think it's safe to say that last week was a total fluke, and that will never, ever happen again for Sean Green.
Yeah, I don't see that happening against New England.
I don't see that happening against a high school team. I would be willing to go ahead and shake on that for a sizable amount of money. Sizable being about $50.
Very well. Well, we don't make that kind of money over here on the East Coast.
So be it. Let's move on.
Right.
So we'll get to what seemingly is a pretty nice looking matchup on paper between Chase and Doug.
Yeah. If we remember correctly, they had that trade a couple weeks ago, and Fitzpatrick, who was once owned by Chase, is now started by Doug, as is Alex Smith, now owned by Chase, who was traded off by Doug.
Yeah, interesting here. We could almost break down who they're starting from that trade and just go point by point. If I had to do those two, I would say Fitzpatrick will beat Smith in points by at least 15.
Oh yeah, I think Buffalo's had who their last 2 weeks at San Francisco and at Arizona on the West Coast. They're coming back home against Tennessee. I think Fitzpatrick can kind of settle down and have a good game.
Yeah, those were two tough defenses. Like, they get after the quarterback, and they're just solid on fundamentals. And now you're going to put Tennessee, who got a big win at against Pittsburgh, but I think it's going to be a much easier matchup for him. I look for him to put up pretty good points. Yeah,
the biggest thing I don't like about Doug's lineup is his lack of variety between the teams. I mean, he's got a lot of people on the same teams. He's got 2 Bills, 2 Giants.
3 Giants.
3 Giants, 2 49ers. And that's it. Personally, in my opinion, I don't like having a whole lot of people from the same team. I mean, I did pick up Gresham this week, and I got Dalton, but I don't like it, but I didn't have a lot of choice.
Yeah, I told you another player I don't like on his team is Vernon Davis. He's kind of wishy-washy. You can expect him to get targets, but I just don't like Alex Smith, and so I don't think Davis is an elite tight end.
Well, especially this week against Seattle. I mean, you know, that's pretty much Alex Smith's security blanket, and they know that. And I think Seattle has the talent to stop him.
Yeah, aside from that, if we look at running backs that were traded, let's see, is McGahee on a bye this week?
Yeah, he's on a bye this week.
Okay, so that's not going to... Well, so in essence, we did allude to this too earlier, is that Doug kind of bought this week. Like, he kind of bought his way out of playing against some other players. So
yeah.
We'll see. That could be an interesting side to look at this.
Yeah.
Should be a pretty close matchup, though, just looking at straight across the board.
Yeah, if, you know, Colston and the Saints coming off a bye week, you know, can he continue what he did the 2 weeks before the bye week, or is he going to kind of sink back into mediocrity again? That's a big question for Chase.
Yeah, and, you know, like you were saying, too, about the lack of variety on Doug's team, I'm really noticing that, too. Like, if Fitzpatrick has a great day, is that going to take away from C.J. Spiller having a great day?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you could say that having Manning, Cruz, and Hickson all starting, that could work if Manning just had a great day and then he threw a lot to those two receivers.
Right.
But it'll be interesting to see if C.J. Spiller does take away from Fitzpatrick and vice versa.
Yeah, I'd like to go back a week, actually, on Doug, and I really like his Brandon Gibson pickup. You know, he lost Amendola to injury, and he went out there and picked up Gibson, and at least for 1 week, it seemed that Gibson took Amendola's spot, you know, as that chain mover guy, the big target for Sam Bradford.
Yeah, and that was against a pretty good defense in Miami.
Yeah.
So now Green Bay having a bit of a struggle this year. So it'll be interesting to see if Bradford can actually manage to get the ball out of the pocket. And if he does, he's likely to go to Gibson quite a bit.
Yeah.
All right, well, moving on, we get to our matchup of the week. And this week is none other than Jared and Marshall. Of course, you mentioned in the pre-show that Jared is on a hot streak right now.
Yeah.
And Marshall with that record. This could be a good matchup to watch.
Yeah, it could. You know, Marshall's team's kind of, you know, especially since the bye week started, he's kind of slowed down a little bit from that hot start he had. But, I mean, the big thing for him is he's got Breeze back. I mean, that guy, you know, he can really put the team on his back, dude. And, you know.
Child's play.
Yeah. It hurts him that you don't have Bush this week, but, you know, you can't. Not that Bush has been great ever since the first of the year, but, you know, he doesn't have a lot of options at running back either. So he's kind of plugging in.
I talked over you a bit there. What was the last thing you said?
I was just saying he was just kind of plugging in people. You know, he had to plug in Santana Moss this week. When he picked him up off the wire to plug him in, which might not be bad with Garcon still out, but you know, he's definitely got some. He's solid at tight end as long as Hernandez can get in there and stay healthy. Good quarterbacks, but you know, still pretty good holes at running back and receiver.
Yeah, that's all good points there. And just like I was saying in the pre-show, Marshall he has some holes on his team that he could fix pretty easily if you're willing to make some moves. Like I hate his receivers, and I think that could hurt him this week. But either way, I feel like he's going to put up enough points to do well in this game. The problem for me, the upside for Marshall rather, is when I look across the board at Jared this week, particularly, I'm looking at Mark Sanchez, Montario Hardesty, Josh Gordon, and James Jones. Now, Gordon and Jones are straight flyers. Like, if they were to put up big numbers, then what did you give up? So, like, sure, there's a chance there, but Montario Hardesty, like, I mean, thinking that Richardson's going to play this week, I would not feel comfortable starting Hardesty, even on a bye. And he doesn't have a lot to replace either. I see he has Benson on the IR. Jake Locker is just occupying a spot when he's out. And then Greg Jennings, I'm not expecting to be back. So,
yeah, I think if anybody really got bit hard by the bye week bug was Jared this week. You know, he lost McCoy and Vic. Gates finally had a breakout week, and so did Decker, and he dropped him to buys this week. So I think that's going to hurt him.
Yeah, that's probably his 4 biggest playmakers, actually, and they're all on bye. So if he can pull out this win, that would be a huge momentum gainer for Jared.
Yeah.
All right, and with that being said, what do you say we get into some predictions?
All right.
All right, well, let's take it back to the top of the list and look at Jason and Josh. You want to kick it off?
Yeah, I like Anderson here. I'm going to go with ESPN. He's going to win big. I don't think he's going to win 162 to 16. I don't think he's going to score 162 points. But I don't think I think Jason would be happy to break 100 this week.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right about Josh, although his team's name is Chase. I'm a huge faggot.
My bad on that.
No worries. Hey, I'm here for you.
Thanks. Hand in hand.
Reciprocity at its finest. Yeah, no surprise here. I'm taking Jason as well. Like you say, it's going to be a tough week for Josh, I think. And while Jason may not score 160, 150 is certainly reasonable, just with the names that he has in the matchups they have this week. And I did want to throw in, too, I had a little GM love from Jason Anderson. Texted me, my squad's about to go beast mode this week. At least they better. Got to get a win here to have any chance. So, kind of desperation for Jason, and it looks like his team might actually help him in that moment.
Yeah, he's going to need it. I mean, because the league's close, but, you look in these next 3 weeks, I think, going to be big. I think we wrap up buys in 3 or 4 weeks. And, then everybody's got who they want. And a lot of the movement in the league, I think, is probably going to slow down. And so you're really going to want to, hit it on these bye weeks. It's real big. So, any win here is huge.
Yeah, especially between 2 and 4 teams. One of you is kind of getting a chance, the other is just getting a little more stolen away from you.
Right.
So let's move on to the next lineup or the next matchup. We got you and Fish. I'm not going to make you go first, but I will tell you that I'm still going to take you either way.
Yeah, I mean, I like my team too. I'm really hoping Rodgers can kind of keep going. I'm not looking for 55 points again, but anything better than 30. I think it's not unreasonable for him as long as he plays well.
Yeah, I think you're going to have good play out of your QBs. I'm looking for a big play out of your wide receivers. What it's going to mean, for Fish to have a chance in this game, his receivers have to produce because they're expected to. And it's really going to come down to his running backs again this week. I don't expect anything out of Russell Wilson, but if the Thursday night game tonight can be not a defensive struggle and they can actually score points, maybe Gore were to get it in a couple times, and Marshawn Lynch could go for over 100 on a score, then he might have a chance at you. But if neither of them get a touchdown, then he's probably going to rule himself out tonight.
Yep.
All right, so we move it on down the list and look at me and Shotgun. I'm not going to make myself go first, so I'll pass it off to you.
I've gone against you the past few weeks, but I like it this week. Mainly really because of those 2 wide receiver matchups I talked about earlier. I think that Smith's going to outdo Bolden this week because to beat Houston, they're going to need those big plays, I think. Houston's pretty upset. They were a little bit exposed last week. Baltimore is really good this year, but, Houston's pissed off, and they're still playing in Texas this week.
Yeah, the way I see this matchup, Shotgun has managed to put together a pretty good bye week team, and I think he's going to put up points. But when I look at my own team, I just love the matchups. I see Whedon putting up big numbers, Newton putting up big numbers. I think Martin is going to have great numbers against a terrible New Orleans run defense, and I actually look for Fred Jackson to have better numbers than C.J. Spiller. My only doubt this week, we'll actually have 2. Jimmy Graham probably isn't going to play, so it's whether or not I'm even going to bother to drop anyone to fill that spot. And at flex, I don't have a lot of options. So right now I'm going with Steven Jackson, who so far has had a down year.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I think Shotgun's going to get good points out of Hasselbeck. That's a good pickup. I think Green has run his time, and I think he's just going to shit the bed. So, yeah, let's move on to the next one. We got Chase and Doug. It's going to be a tight matchup, I think. I'm not loving the QB play for Chase at all, and actually, I think that Chase is going to have consecutive down weeks. Honestly,
Yeah, I mean, we talked about in weeks past that Chase has totally relied on his QB play, and Matt Ryan let him down last week, and that's when he lost. And I think he's going to get similar treatment this week.
Yeah, I think Doug could win this game pretty big. Actually, it's let's see, it's projected at 158 to 124. I don't think there's a chance that Chase gets 124 out of this team.
No, I don't think so. Unless he's going to need someone like Curly or Britt to come up big to get that kind of number.
Yeah, and that's not happening in either case. And as far as Doug goes, 158, I think it's possible, but only if the Jets put up colossal numbers against the Redskins.
Yeah, so we're agreeing on Doug on this one?
Yeah, we're both going to take Doug on this one. So no surprises yet. Finally, we're to the final matchup, the premier matchup of the week. Hopefully you and I can split sides here, but I'm kind of doubting it. We got Jared and Marshall, and it looks like Marshall should put up some good numbers this week, having both of his quarterbacks back in.
Yeah, I really want to go, against you just for the sake of it, but I mean, I can't go against little bro, so I'm gonna have to take him.
Yeah, so no surprises this week. We just can't go against each other, so we're all going to take the same picks. But hey, you know what? That means you're still going to have to lead through next week. Yeah. But hopefully we can both go a perfect week.
I'd like to see that happen. That'd be nice.
That would be very advantageous, considering we both have terrible records thus far in the year.
Yeah, you never know. I was looking through the lineups this week. I don't think we're going to have any Monday night showdowns this week. Like I said earlier, before we started the recording on the show, that a lot of people are shying away from that Chicago Bears and Detroit Lions matchup.
Yeah, there's not a lot to love there. That is one huge upside for Jared. He has the Bears defense, and they've proven worthy to him before. So
yeah,
this being the game of the week and him having the Bears D, if they were to put up 30 again, like it could come down to that. But would I project the Bears D to get 30? No, I would not.
Nah.
So, Jared, kudos on making it here. Good job on winning last week and your little hot streak. But I think Marshall is going to pull off the win here.
Yep.
Alrighty. Well, I think that does it for projections.
Yeah, I think that about wraps it up this week. We'll be back sometime next week with a recap and another preview for Week 8.
All right. Sounds good. Good luck in your week, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Peace out.
Hey, you stole my line.
Oh, no. Peace out.
Bye. Bye-bye.
There's a big Dougie smile. That's my guy. Diddly poo. I take the serious.